Peace, this brother Hakim. I'm on mile 3. I'm going to do 2 podcasts tonight. One for on mile 3. So I'm going to start this one looking at the craft of what's called magic. And for those that don't understand, this will probably spook you out a little bit. But let me go a little bit into my definition of what magic is. First off, when we look at the root of the word magic, from how I trace it back, come from the term magi. Magi were wise men. And to individuals without wisdom, wise individuals seem magical. Why? Because they pay attention. They observe what's going on in the world, and they're able to make accurate predictions about events before they happen, whether they're dealing with human affairs or whether they're dealing with affairs of the natural world or whether they're dealing with events of the supernatural world. They're able to do proper observation and not separating themselves from what's going on, but enmeshing themselves and embracing all that's going on, and at the same time watching their reactions and other people's reaction, and they're able to form reality. Other words that are very similar to magi is vizier, which the word wizard comes from. Vizier, the word vizier goes to wizard, and basically from those words, I say the word wisdom came from. So these individuals were looked up to as far as traditional societies because they were able to make predictions. For example, there was magicians or wizards or sorcerers, and let's look at that word, the sorcerer. Sorcerer, one who is in touch with the source, somebody who's able to sing, or it seems as if they're able to morph and shape reality because they are in connection with something that most people can't even begin to deal with because they don't take time to stop and observe the world. For example, where does this apply? If we look at ancient Egypt, there was wise men and wise women who watched the flooding of the Nile, and they was able to begin to predict what was going on with the Nile. And their students, or those people that really paid attention to them and observed them and observed what they was doing, was able to take notes or scribe what was being predicted. And then they found the reasons behind it, and eventually what came from this stuff called magic, we moved into science. I mean, this brother Hatim's simple explanation behind all that. But anyway, let's talk about what a magic or magician or a wizard or a sorcerer is. How are they able to do what they do? First off, we have to take a real look at the human being. The human being, from my studies, is basically a reality generation device, for lack of better words. We are able to generate reality. And I'm not just talking about the ego, because we have to kind of move the ego out in this conversation, because if that's the case, the ego will be creating all types of shit that would just basically destroy everybody almost at the point of contact. You know what I'm saying? In order to really be a magician or a sorcerer or a wizard, you have to get in touch with that source, with that true you. Now, according to Giame, the self, or that true self that we are working to become in touch with, can be defined as the absolute and complete aspect of a being, or complete part of a being that is not influenced by external circumstances. This is that little silence inside of us that we have to reach. We know we are in touch with this point because we get those aha moments, or what I like to call sometimes now I can die moments, where everything for that split second makes sense. Everything aligns just perfectly, and you get this feeling, you get this natural high because everything has lined up perfectly. And it seems like there's nothing at that point in time that you cannot do. And what a magician is able to do is to tap into this, not at random, but at will. And in order to tap into this, a lot of times we have to, well, all the time, we have to move our ego to the side, because the ego is only limited to the amount of experience that we have on this planet. Your ego is as old as you are now, but the self is eternal. It really has no age. If there was a beginning, your true self was there. You are just the larger aspect of that. And the self is able to form and warp reality. It creates reality. And as groups of people come together, that power becomes even more prevalent. So, from what I understand, the personal self, the personal belief, when an individual is able to do on a personal level, is called a belief. You know what I'm saying? We have a belief about something. When a group of people do it, it turns into a paradigm. When a larger group of people believe it and work it, a larger belief of a group of people becomes, in a sense, a law, when it can be proven over and over again. But a sorcerer, a magician, a wizard is someone who is able to warp this and change things. This is why when you read some of the posts that I put on Facebook or Twitter, I talk about when we look out in space, I'm amazed at the new things that we create, because it's not necessarily us discovering it. I'm seeing the universe as something, or a blank slate, that the deeper and the harder we look as human beings, the more we create. The more laws that pop up, or the more new ideas that pop up that conflict with the old beliefs or the old paradigms, and it forces us to expand our beliefs about the universe, about the world, and most importantly, about ourselves. Magicians are able to do this type of thing at will, and they're able to change their core beliefs so that they can create new beliefs. They don't get so attached to what the world says. They get more attached to what that little voice, that little stillness inside of them says. And they are able to bring about things and bring about changes in themselves, and thereby changing the world around them. And a lot of people call that magic, when in fact it's just the application of a deep wisdom. So that's what came to me while I was running today, and hopefully it'll be useful to you. Now, some of the things that we need to do to really, really plug into this and make it useful in our personal lives is, one, we have to be able to identify those beliefs that are at the core of our being, that we, especially that we believe about ourselves. When we start changing these core beliefs, especially the limited ones, because I had a dream last night that exposed some of the core beliefs that I had that was limiting my growth. So I had to kind of challenge myself and add to my daily pledge these new things that will help me establish a new belief so that I can move to the next level of my existence and discover something new about myself. And in discovering something new in myself, discover new opportunities in the world, magically changing my life. Now, we have to look at those core beliefs, one, look at which ones are limiting, and be willing and open to changing them and challenge them. Second, if we want to change something, we have to be clear on what it is we want to change. Third, we have to be willing to work on it on a daily and regular basis. Just 3 simple steps, and I'm gonna leave it at that. And we'll explore this a little bit more when I start writing some more on my blog. So this has been Brother Hatim. I'm on mile 3. I'm high. My endorphins is flowing through my body. I feel so good, and I'm appreciating every last one of you because I have reached one of my goals. I have hit 5,000, and I will see you soon as we approach the 10,000, because what I'm learning about the spirit, what I'm learning about the magic or my ashe is that when you start doing the small things, they start multiplying. Now, and they multiply exponentially. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, 16 becomes 32, 32 becomes 64, 64 becomes 128, and 256, and then from there on, and within 20 generations it moves to 1 million, over 1 million. So understand that when you start with the small things, that small thing, if you stay consistent with it, will eventually reproduce itself, and in reproducing itself, you will reap the benefits in a magnificent way. Or as one of my friends once said, in the most elegant ways, it will show up. And it will be something beautiful and something that you'll want to share with the world. This has been Brother Hatim. I'd like to thank you for your time and a couple of minutes that you spent with me on Mile 3. And with that, I say peace.